So today we're going to have a look at installing macOS in VirtualBox. Let's get started. Good afternoon everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to have a look at installing macOS Sierra inside of VirtualBox. The reason I picked Sierra as opposed to any other version, because Sierra is a few years old at this point, is because two things. One, it's the only one I can find a working ISO of. There's probably some out there, but I couldn't find them myself. And secondly, I did manage to get onto Sierra. Yeah, I got onto Sierra before this video, and then trying to get up to Mojave killed the VM, so yeah. If you notice I look off to the side a bit, it's actually backwards for you guys. I've got a TV off to the side where I've got the recording open, so I don't have OBS on my screen. Anyway, that's not too important. So the reason I decided to do this was because this semester I've got a course called Mobile Enterprise Development, which is a Swift 4 course for some unimaginable reason. Even though, I don't know, we could have done Swift 5, but lucky we'd not, because I wouldn't be able to do anything productive without actually being on campus. So, that's enough rambling. I think we should probably get started. So, first up, obviously, you're going to want to have VirtualBox installed. If you're on Windows, then you can just go to the website and download it no trouble. If you're on Arch like I am, then it's, I can't spell apparently, it's just in the standard Arch repository, so Hackman VirtualBox, you can install it like that. You can probably get with apt-get on Ubuntu or whatever Debian uses, I'm not too sure. But with Arch and other Linux distributions, you're going to want to do some extra configuration to get the VirtualBox or the VMs actually working. You can just come to the Arch Linux wiki for that. I'll put a link to it in the description below. And since it's later than normal, I've got a cup of tea, so I'll sip on that throughout the video. Anyway, so first up, what you're going to want to do, go into VirtualBox once you've got that installed, create a new VM. We're going to name it macOS. I recommend just following along with that, just so it can be easier to run the commands. Otherwise you're going to have to just change the names for them, but if you want to change it, go ahead. Just make your life harder. So you're going to want to set the RAM. 2 gigs is probably fine, but I'll give it a bit more. If you've got more, then you probably give it more. I don't have much because it's only an 8 gig system, but yeah, so we're going to just do that. So you're going to want to create a new virtual hard disk. It recommends a size of 20 gig, but we're going to just click through all of these, leave them as the defaults. It recommends 20 gigs, but when I was trying to upgrade to High Sierra, it complained about my disk space, so 40 or 50 is probably good enough. We're going to do, I guess we'll do 50. I've got plenty of disk space. I'm just going to delete it after the semester anyway. So just hit create and you're good there. You've got your basic VM set up. Now there's a few more settings you're going to want to change before we get into it. So come into the settings section, clicking this gear up here, and we're going to want to remove some boot order stuff. We don't need a floppy disk, which is pretty obvious. Just move up the optical disk and the hard disk. Keep them in this order. If you put the hard disk first, it's going to try to boot from the empty disk, and that's not going to go very well. It should theoretically swap to the optical disk if there's nothing to boot from, but you're probably better off just doing it like this. So increase your video memory up. 16 megs is not safe for any version of a modern operating system, so just crank it up to 128 meg. So in here we're going to remove the empty attachment and then come down here where it says add a new storage controller, add in a new SATA controller, and click on where it says, what is the tooltip? I don't know. Add a new optical drive. So it'll give you a prompt to select what you want to boot from. This is where you're going to select the ISO that I have put in the description below, there will be a mirror to where I originally found it, and I'm going to make my own upload. They're going to be the same content, but in case the mirror gets pulled down or my version gets pulled down, either way, so you'll end up downloading a zip file and then just unzip it. You should know how that works. It's fairly simple. So now that you've done that, I think that is everything we want configured. You can set up shared folders, but that's not too important to getting the VM itself running. So yeah, now that's basically set up. So before we go on, there's some commands you're going to want to run. So if you're on Windows, you might have to add VBox manage into your path variable. I will put something in the description below on how to do that if you're not sure, but it's fairly simple. On Linux though, it should automatically be added to your path variable. So pretty much all you're going to want to do is just copy these commands. You don't even think about them. That was weird. Why is there a space there? Give me 1 sec. Let's try that again. Okay, sure. So that should have ran it anyway. You're just going to want to run all of these commands. If you picked a name besides macOS, where it says macOS in this command, you're just going to replace it. So if you put in macOS X or this is a VM, I don't know why I'm naming it like this, then just put in that name. Yeah, I didn't decide on what these keywords after it are, so I've found this from another article that I will link in the description. Someone else worked this out a while ago. I presume that these are standardized comments because I saw them on a install guide for El Capitan as well, and they were the exact same. So presumably, why is that doing that? So presumably, if you've managed to find a Mojave install or Mojave ISO, it should theoretically work, but I'm not 100% sure. I haven't been able to get one working myself. So now that all those commands are in, we can go back to the VM, and this is where the easy part starts, really. So just power on the VM, and it should boot up fairly quickly. I will just move that camera over. You'll notice some errors going through. Don't worry about them. Like, there's no such file. I have no idea what it means. But presuming everything, or previous shut, I don't know why it says that. I haven't shut this VM down before it's a new VM. But this should boot at some point. I'll just cut back to when that starts up. So now that we are on the basically the install menu, just pick whatever your language is. Mine's English, as you could probably tell. It's OS X, you can pick whatever you want. Okay, so here we're gonna just click continue, agree to the EULA. We're already breaking it by installing this on a VM. Okay, so from here we go up to utilities, go to the disk utility, and we wait for it to load at some point because this is really slow. I don't think that's a problem with VirtualBox, I think that's just my system. So you're going to come up to this internal disk here. Don't go and erase the external, that is your ISO, and if you erase that, then I don't actually know if it'll let you erase it. I don't know, haven't tried it. Anyway, come up to this VBox hard disk media and erase that. And I'm just going to name it VDisk. You can name it whatever you want. You can leave everything else as the default. Just click done once that's finished, and come up here and just close this window. So now that that's done, we can click on this VDisk and just go to continue. And this will take a few minutes to install. So yeah, in case you were wondering, I moved the VirtualBox window over to another screen during the break, so that's why that's not here anymore. It's just down here. So you probably couldn't even see, you couldn't see that because I've got my webcam in the way. Anyway, so I will be back in about 15 minutes once this is finished installing. I don't think there's any prompts that come up, just let it go through what it's doing, and then once it's installed, it'll probably ask you to reboot. I should be back when that happens. Okay, so the system's just going to restart now, and I managed to get back just in time to catch that. So just let it go back to the boot cycle. It should work. If it doesn't work, then I guess I'm starting this video again. So, if it works, then you will never hear this. So now it's gone to the grey screen, which is nice, and I've just been killing some. Oh, can you see them? Can you see them? There we go. Got a bunch of Persona keychains. Not important to the video at all. I've just got them sitting on my desk right now. I was just wasting time with them. So, now that we are back in here, just set your country, whatever that may be. I'm going to set mine to Australia. Set your keyboard. I'm just going to set Australian. I don't actually know what the difference is. Someone knows, then tell me. You're going to be setting your keyboard layout in macOS anyway, so I don't really know what's important. If you have information you want to transfer, then set it up, otherwise don't. I don't know how location services will work in a VM, but I don't need them, so I'm just going to skip them. I think you can just enable them whenever, so yeah, presumably you can. If you've got an Apple ID, then you sign in with that on this screen here, but otherwise you can just skip over it and just hit don't sign in. You can create a new Apple ID from here as well, or just whatever. You still have the opportunity to set it up later if you want to, but I don't actually think you need to have your Apple ID set up to download High Sierra. If I do, then I'll just set it up later. So just hit continue, skip over this if you haven't put anything. If you have, then yeah, we're already breaking the terms and conditions by owning this VM, or by owning this ISO and setting up this VM. Just agree, you have no option. Sell your soul to Apple. Set up a computer account. Just call it whatever, it'll let you set up stuff for that and set a password for it. Probably something rememberable. I recommend something rememberable unless you don't want to log in. Also make sure your passwords match, apparently. Let's see if I can get this right. Okay, that's looking a little better now. Now it's just going to take a few minutes to create the account. And once that's done, I think we're pretty much done with the install. Okay, we've got a bit left. Send your diagnostics to Apple if you really want to. I don't feel like it. Disable Siri because I don't need it. You can enable it if you want to. So now we're just going to run through setting up Mac. It thinks I'm on an iMac, which is it's amusing. Because you're in the settings, we did set it up as an iMac. You can probably configure it as like a MacBook or something. I don't know. Well, that's a good sign. We've got the rainbow wheel of Apple death. And oh, that's not just the recording. This is how slow it was for me early on as well. So we are in Sierra now. I will just confirm the version that we are on when this feels like loading up. So okay, right, we have to set up the keyboard. So just follow the prompts, it'll guide you through what to do. Set a keyboard. Now, as you can see, macOS Sierra 10.12. I guess it was with macOS they dropped the X part of it. Because you can't really be the 10th version of system 12 versions later. Anyway, not important. I keep going on tangents. So now we are going to come down to the App Store. Not see if I was right about not having to sign in to actually use it. So just come in here and download High Sierra. Actually no, I don't. No, we cannot actually do it like that. No, my bad. So we're going to come into Safari. macOS High Sierra. there is a install link on the Apple website. So if we come to Apple support, scroll down here, then we can come down to, it'll tell you that Mojave's here, or if this is later in time, it'll probably be whatever the new version is. I don't remember because I'm not an Apple person. So come down here, get macOS High Sierra. And now, I don't know why Apple makes that difficult, because it's still on the App Store. They just don't want you to directly download it. I guess it stops people just accidentally downloading the wrong version. So we come down here, download macOS High Sierra, and that will take a little while. Shouldn't take too long, because this is pretty much the reason that it's so difficult to get an ISO now. So the way that Apple handles their installers is they don't give you the full installer. It's a really small amount, and then you download the rest during the install process. In the past, what would have happened is you would download the entire installer, and then in the installer file there would be a DMG, and you could convert that DMG into an ISO. You can't do that anymore, because you now just download a little web installer that will pull down the ISO as you need it in little pieces, and you don't actually have access to it. There might be ways to still get to it, but I'm not sure about any of myself. So before we go on, I need to say something very important. So the next step is, you have one shot at it. If you mess this up, then you're gonna have to start again. So I would recommend backing up your VM unless you are really trustworthy that you're going to do it right. I'm not going to do it because I like living on the edge. So I have a guide here that steps through how to upgrade macOS High Sierra to macOS High Sierra from Sierra. The problem is that VirtualBox, it messes with the boot order. At least that's what's theorized as the reason that this doesn't work normally. So you have to go into the boot menu and play around with some stuff to actually get it working. But I'll step you through all of that. Just make sure that you get this correct the first time. So what you're going to want to do, come down here, continue here. Once you're absolutely certain that you want to continue and you don't want to back anything else up. If you do want to quit it, if you're not sure, you can come up here and just click quit install macOS. So we're still breaking the terms of service, so we still agree to those. Less breaking it now, because now we have an official ISO, or official installer, I guess. Click on the VDisk. Actually, I don't think we need to click on it, no. And just put in the password that you set up before, and it will take more time to install. So I will cut back to when this is finished installing, and we'll continue from there. I'll step you through the process when I get close to it. Actually, no, you know what? I'll tell you what it is now. So to get into the boot menu, what we're going to do is we're going to smash the F12 key as soon as the screen goes black. I was going to come up with a metaphor, but I don't want YouTube to yeet my channel. You can think of what I was thinking. You can... What's a safe work metaphor that's not going to get my channel yeeted? You're going to want to smash it like you're trying to cut down a tree in Minecraft. Yeah. Actually, no, that's a hold. I don't know a good metaphor. So this isn't even remotely relevant to the video at hand, but I felt like you guys had to know this. That should be enough time to give it a bit of a read. So we're going to go back to the VM now. So we've just got these last couple of seconds, so I guess, because I don't want to cut the recording again, I've got a ricing video planned at some point, just for some general i3 ricing. I've got some Ranger stuff set up. I want to talk about my transmission setup, which is the torrent client I'm using. I'm using it from the command line. I've got a way to feed into it with an RSS feed, which is one of the things that transmission is really lacking. What else we got planned? I want to do a video on browser independent bookmarks, that's a fun one. I haven't written the script for it yet, but I think that's actually going to be a fun one. Not like the talking script, the shell script for it. I've got a couple other interesting ones planned as well. I want to redo my auto shortcut script as well, and I'll probably talk about that. But apart from that, I don't really have a ton. Well, I've got a ton on my list of things to do, but I do want to do 2 anime videos relatively soon. I want to do one on Danmachi and Symphogear, both of which I've got reasons to love and reason to be annoyed with right now. So there's about 19 seconds left for this. So I'll probably put a link. Oh, okay, there's not now. I'll probably put a link so you can skip over that bit of rant if you don't really care. That'll be at the start of the rant. So you can restart straight away, or you can just let the timer run out. I think we're just going to let the timer run out. Just make you wait a little bit. You can skip ahead 14 seconds if you want. I'll put a link to skip this maybe. So, remember, smash the F12 key as soon as the screen goes black. You have a couple of seconds after this finishes to do it. So now, also make sure you're selected on the VM, because otherwise it won't pick up your keys. Now we wait. And we're all good. Okay, cool. You gotta risk it. So we're gonna come into the boot manager, come down to EFI internal shell, just let this go for a couple of seconds, and you'll be dropped into the shell. So, go away, I don't care. I was just trying to pick up my mouse cursor because I clicked on the VM and there's no mouse support in the shell. So just in here write fs:, and then we want, where do we, I'll get rid of this picture now. So we want to, okay, yeah, cool. So we want to, I'll probably forget it and go back to it, MacOS install data. Make sure you include the, if you're not used to command line stuff, make sure you include the quote marks. When there's a space in there, you can't use, you can't write a command without, or you can't write a path without the quotation marks, because otherwise it'll treat them as separate commands. So locked files, boot files, okay. I guess we don't really have to CD into it. I could just run it. Boot files, and if I did this wrong, okay, I did something wrong. What did I do? So I seem to have made some sort of mistake. I managed to recover the system though. So I will work out what I've done. I guess it's actually pretty good for the video. So if you followed up to that point, I will cut in a thing before that just to mention, just be very careful. I think what I missed, I'm going to try updating to, some updates need to finish, okay. So we're going to install the updates the App Store tells us about, and then we're going to upgrade to High Sierra. So if I'm not mistaken, the problem that I made was forgetting to upgrade to the latest version of Sierra. I remember doing that in the original time that I set up this VM, so maybe that's what the problem was. I'll put a note before my last time of messing up. I'll leave the actual content in case you guys want to see me screw up and learn from my mistakes, but there will be a thing before it mentioning that I made a mistake so people don't end up copying me and potentially ruining their VM and wasting themselves a lot of time. Like I am doing right now. So this should only take another minute to install, then I'll come back at the same point that I was at last time, and hopefully this time it works. So I'm still in the process of getting these installs done. I hope it works this time, because I don't really want to wait another 30 minutes to get this done. So I'll be back when this install's done and the High Sierra downloader is done as well, and we're back to the boot menu. Because I know that the boot menu works. I've just made a mistake. So I noticed, I went back and looked at the video, I actually did have a missing quotation mark, but for some reason the folder wasn't there, so it didn't really make a difference either way. And okay, so I think I worked out what the solution was. I've still upgraded the system. It's probably safe to do that as well. But what we're going to do, going to shut down the VM, give that a moment to shut down, and then I remember that I had forgotten to do something. So there was one thing that we forgot to do when we set it up. Come into the general settings, click on the gear again, and set it from, what was it on? It was defaulted to OS X 64-bit and hit on to High Sierra. I think that should probably fix it. I'm not 100% sure, so we'll just reboot the system and try that install again. I have forgotten to do one other very important thing, and I really hope that it hasn't killed the VM. So come into your settings, come into storage, and remove the controller that had the ISO in it. I'm going to reboot the system now. I hope that nothing bad has happened. Hopefully it boots properly, because otherwise I'm restarting. Okay. I think that might have also been what was killing the boot order, because it was detecting an extra drive there. I didn't shut my computer down properly. Okay. If you do nothing, computer will log on. Okay, fine, open. It's actually pretty good, because now that I've made these mistakes, hopefully no one else copies them. There'll be some notes throughout the video mentioning where I've made mistakes, so hopefully that doesn't happen again. So to get to your thing, I think you can do Finder, I don't know, your installer. So come into your applications folder. I just went down to my downloads and then clicked on applications. I know, Mac people, there are better ways to do that. Now we're going to install macOS High Sierra again. Is it going to want to download it again? That's the question. I'm not sure. Okay, just agree to the terms of service and actually learn how to use a mouse. Install it, put your admin password in, put it in correctly. Okay, I'm going to go back to video editing now, and I will cut back to when this is ready. Okay, so now it is take 2. Hopefully it works this time, because it is now 7:30, and I think I started recording this around a bit before 5, so I don't want to continue doing this. Okay, here we go. So now hopefully it will take us to the proper boot menu, and we can get everything working properly. So I don't want to feel like waiting, so we're just going to restart straight away. Close the other applications. Get ready to smash that F12 key again. If I don't sound too happy right now, it's because I've got a cold and it's 7:30 at night and I'm still trying to get this set up. So hopefully everything works properly now. I really hope it does. Okay, we're back in the boot menu. Cool. Boot manager. EFI. That looks closer to what I had last time. So if we go FS1, LS, that's what we want. Okay, sweet. So now we can go into the, I really hope we can go into the macOS install files. Okay, we're just gonna, I don't really want to write all of it. Come on. It's not there. Why is it not there? It's not there because I named it the wrong thing. I was about to just give up and just not make this video. Oh, okay. Okay, we're alive now. So... God. Okay. So, now we're going to cd into the locked files and into the boot files. Where is it? There we go. Cd into locked files / boot files. Okay. If we ls in here, there is a script in here called boot.efi. That's the boot script that's supposed to run, but VirtualBox isn't running it properly. So if we hit this, it should take us into the High Sierra installer, and then everything works perfectly from there. If it doesn't, I don't know what I'm going to do. So we trust that it works, and I hope that doesn't mean anything bad. So, it is 10:30 now. Oh, my webcam's shaky. I've got some juice. And it works now. Okay, so basically what I ended up doing, restarting, I scrapped everything. I did the exact same thing, so the only thing I think of that changed was I made sure that I removed the ISO as quickly as possible. So I shut down the system straight away after installing Sierra. I removed the ISO, which I showed earlier in the video. Then I updated to the latest version of Sierra, and then it worked. I needed this VM, so it doesn't really matter this video's taken 3 hours to make, because regardless it's not 3 hours, it's been 5 hours, because I needed the VM regardless. So I guess we're just going to go through the last steps of installing this then. So basically all that's left now is just wait for the install to happen, then it should get onto High Sierra and there will be no problems there. Then everything will work. And I'm probably not doing a long video again like this. Maybe at some point. So if you had any problems, restart. I don't know. Yeah, VirtualBox. Like, some people have had problems with VirtualBox and MacOS installs in the guide that I had initially read, and their solutions end up just being restarting because there's not really much else you can do. So basically, make sure that you remove the ISO as early as possible. I still updated in the App Store. I don't know whether that's important or not. Then I downloaded the High Sierra installer, and then I went to the boot menu like I showed earlier, ran the boot EFI, and everything worked. So I will cut back to when this download is done, and if there's anything extra I need to talk about, then I'll talk about it then. So I didn't end up getting any extra prompts along the way. It just finished the install and rebooted the system for me. Now we're back on the login screen. And hopefully when this loads, I should be in High Sierra. I think it will be 10.13.6 or something along those lines. Wait, that was weird. Oh, okay, there is some stuff. Some data privacy stuff, that's fine. You can log back in with your Apple ID if you didn't do that earlier, or you can just set it up later. We're just going to set it up later because I don't care. Just going to set the Mac up now. Ugh. And that looks to me like High Sierra. So if we close all this stuff down, get about this Mac. And there we go. So it's been a long journey, but I'm finally here. I don't think I set the correct graphics memory for the new VM. Regardless, not too important. So yeah, I will put notes throughout the video for people who want to watch this as a tutorial, and if you don't, and you've made it this far because you wanted to watch me suffer through this, because I could have gone back and actually recorded proper bits for it, to say that, to actually make it more of a tutorial format, but I realised that after I'd ended up failing this much, this kind of makes quality content in a way. Just watch me suffer for hours and hours upon end. I think the video, I've edited the entire thing, it's about half an hour long. I think there's maybe 20 minutes of tutorial in there, and the rest of it's just suffering, so it's not too bad of a ratio. Regardless, we are now on macOS High Sierra. If you want to get up to Mojave, I will put a link to the tutorial I followed, and there's people in the comments who've been successful with it, but personally I haven't, and I'd rather just work with the system that I've got now, one that I know that works. And if you're coming here from the Mobile Enterprise course, then you only need High Sierra for Xcode 9.4.1, which is the minimum that supports Swift 4, which we're going to be using in the course. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. If you enjoyed the video, then remember to like and subscribe and hit the little bell icon below if you want to see more from my channel. There won't be more like this suffering, because I really don't want to deal with this anytime soon. The next video is going to be easy. It'll probably be, I might look at like maybe some art tracing or something simple like that. Something that I've already done and I can just talk about. But yeah, I think that is pretty much everything from me, so yeah, I'm out.